Tonight, calls to reduce the speed limit on a treacherous stretch of the Augusta Highway. And lights, camera and action at the Fame Film Awards in Port Lincoln.
This is Southern Cross News with Alison Drower.
Hello, great to have your company this evening. Well, after years of hurt and uncertainty, business and consumer confidence in the region is on the rise. A report by Bank SA shows confidence is now at its highest level since before Arrium went into administration.
The past 4 years have been tough for our region. Arrium's collapse threw the future of Whyalla into doubt, while the closure of Port Augusta's power station was a big blow to the city. However, the tide seems to be turning, with confidence returning to the local economy according to the Bank SA State Monitor.
Or a substantial increase this time around. So it is trending in the right direction.
In our region, business confidence jumped 10 points since the last survey in February, its highest level since August 2014. Consumer confidence has risen for the third consecutive survey, to now be at its highest level in 7 years. Mr. Panis says goodwill and grain prices, plus news of investment in the Upper Spencer Gulf are helping the mood.
I suppose consumers feeling better about their own household situation in general.
Ron Hay from Whyalla's Chamber of Commerce says while there's green shoots, he still feels we need to be cautious. He says the area is treading water as consumers and businesses wait for proposed developments to begin.
When we start seeing projects come to fruition and things starting to take place, that is when we anticipate that we will see an upward movement.
Mr. Panis says a drier winter in the region could also hurt in the next survey.
Very much relates to how the season's going to pan out for farmers.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
Police in Whyalla have charged a man with drink driving after he was caught more than 5 times the legal limit. Early on Sunday morning, police stopped a car in Ward Street and breath tested the driver, who recorded a result of .252. Also on Friday, a 68-year-old man allegedly returned a reading of .132. Well, a troubled stretch of the Augusta Highway continues to weigh on the mind of the member for Stuart. He is calling for an investigation into reducing the speed limit in light of multiple accidents and the death in May of an 8-year-old child.
On this stretch of the Augusta Highway, a number of fast food joints are populated all within a sniff of each other. But the issue for customers, aside from which store to eat at, is crossing the road safely amongst cars and heavy vehicles.
It's been a concern area for quite a long time.
The member for Stuart has recognised this problem and has written to the State Transport Minister to investigate the possibility of reducing the speed limit around the fast food hotspot.
I do believe it's very important to at least have a look at it to see whether it would make it safer for motorists, but more particularly for pedestrians.
A build-up of parked cars on the side of the road in the 60-kilometre zone means visibility for both oncoming cars and pedestrians is compromised. A number of pedestrians have been hit by vehicles over the last few years, including a tragic incident just months ago that resulted in the death of an 8-year-old boy.
We need to make this part of Port Augusta safer for everybody that goes through there, but particularly for the pedestrians.
Mr. Pelican says the Transport Minister has acknowledged the letter and he expects his department to investigate in due course. Although he realises that further reducing the speed limit could mean that between the Port Augusta prison and the Air Highway turnoff, motorists would have to change speeds around 7 times.
I'm not an expert, I'm not saying it must happen, I'm just saying it must be considered.
Garth Burley, Southern Cross News.
Residents on the Eyre Peninsula are being urged to take part in a survey asking how they feel about mobile phone coverage in their region. The local RDA wants to know how residents use the service and what challenges they face. With the advent of the NBN and funding to reduce mobile black spots, the findings will be used as part of a submission to a government inquiry into regional telecommunications. Links to the survey can be found on our Southern Cross News Facebook page. The Mid-North community has rallied to raise more than $40,000 for paralysed footballer Ty Martin Page, who was injured in an on-field collision in Darwin. A family fun day on the weekend will assist Ty's family with paying for expensive rehab bills.
A community eager to make sure one of its own is looked after. Hundreds turned out to show their support for Ty Martin Page, who continues to recover from spinal injuries suffered in the opening minutes of a game with the Darwin Buffaloes.
It was early January in an NTFL game, and he had just a freak accident with another player, which left him paralysed from the chest down. So basically since then he hasn't had any feeling in his legs.
Still have your hard times, but all in all though, he's gone really good. He's staying positive, which is really important.
A family fun day held in Gladstone has seen the Mid-North community raise around $43,000 to help pay for Ty's ongoing medical expenses as he continues rehab to walk again.
It's just overwhelming, it's been like this through the whole way. Everyone's been really supportive, with everything they've done, all the time, effort, the love, support, everything. Everyone's just been unbelievable.
Knowing Ty and how courageous he is, I'm sure if there's a chance he can walk again, he'll do it.
Ty's been such an important part of the community, and he's in a difficult situation at the moment. His future has to be planned and cared for, and I think there's nothing better than a community coming together to assist somebody who's in need.
Ty's family wished to thank everyone who attended the day, which included a kids' footy clinic, an auction and a concert by the Cornsies All-Stars Band. Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
Still to come tonight, your Monday night footy wrap and the winners from this year's Fame Awards in Port Lincoln. Welcome back. You are watching Southern Cross News. The town of Corn in the Flinders Ranges is among 21 sites across the state accepted for temporary storage of asbestos cement pipes. The EPA has approved applications from SA Water to hold the old pipes at a local secure facility for a short time before they are transferred to a licensed waste facility. The facility at Corn will only store the pipes. There is no treatment or recycling of asbestos on that site. Iron Road is working with grain growers in the region to improve access to its proposed Cape Hardy report. The company has released a second quarterly report ahead of getting approvals in place, and John Hunt has more details.
It's one of the biggest projects in development on the EP, and Iron Road is making steady progress towards getting it underway. It provided an update to shareholders last week as it moves towards getting final approvals from the state government. In the update, Iron Road says it's working with China Railway Group on developing partnerships and attracting further investment. With the region's agriculture industry needing major port access, Iron Road is developing a grain-first strategy in conjunction with the region's peak grain farmers body. It wants to work with EP Co-op to develop a bulk grain terminal at its Cape Hardy port, reducing costs and travel time. Iron Road says it's trying to work a grain terminal into the infrastructure required for an iron ore export facility. The project is expected to commence soon, once final approvals are granted by the government. Once opened, it's expected the new mine will export 21 million tonnes per year for 25 years, creating hundreds of new jobs in the region. We approached Iron Road for comment today, but they did not get back to us before deadline.
New laws may soon allow local councils to expand their boundaries to capitalise on new opportunities. Port Augusta Council has given its support to the changes, which would make it easier to initiate boundary changes and simplify the process for minor proposals. Council is keen to capture its share of new energy projects that sit outside of existing zones, but which do impact on the costs for council. Well, the Boot Scooters and Akubras were everywhere to be seen in Laura, east of Port Pirie on the weekend. Hundreds headed to the town for the Laura Country Music Festival, including our own Rachel Nell.
The sound of country music filled the air at the weekend for Laura's 8th annual Country Music Festival. This year's event saw performers from near and far join the lineup.
It does bring a lot of people into Laura. I think it also gives the country music artists and the young artists in the area an opportunity to have their voice and to get their voices out there.
I've been hoping to come here for about 5 or 6 years, ever since I was a contestant on the X Factor, one of the finalists back in 2012.
Festival organisers say it's important to celebrate country music as it highlights what life is like living on the land.
Country music, you can hear the words You can understand the words and they will tell a story.
Apart from opera, country music is probably the best genre, I think, for telling stories.
This year's festival attracted big crowds across the 3 days.
They've really gotten on board. We've had people up dancing, yelling in their seats.
Organisers are already planning next year's event.
The festival does have an excellent reputation for being a really well-run festival, great atmosphere, and they often get some great artists, country artists from around the country.
Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
Well, Canberra will be the next city to name a street after one of Broken Hill's most famous residents. Pro Hart Road in the nation's capital will honour the late artist. It's the 4th Australian city to do so. Port Lincoln has enjoyed a little red carpet excitement with the 2018 annual Fame Film Awards. Talene Clark stole the show with her hilarious comedy spin about air golf. Casey Trelaw has more.
With some spooky guest appearances and a pose for the paparazzi, the 2018 Port Lincoln Fame Awards got underway. Some spent hours getting their hair and makeup ready for the spooky theme.
Some creepy things we've seen, Chucky's Bride, zombies and mummies.
Before the awards got underway, guests were treated with more thrilling music and dance performances than ever before.
It's a night of nights, there's nothing else like it in Port Lincoln. Not only is it a short film and music video competition, which is not available anywhere else, but it's a great fun night. Every year we mix it up with a different theme, different musicians.
The first award on the night went to Rainer Story in the under 15 category with his film about a rock, leaving the audience in stitches. And in a Fame first, the first ever full-scale animation film challenged the judges to pick a final winner. But it was Talene Clark who swept the night, taking home the Best Short Film and the People's Choice Award for her hilarious short film she shot on the Nullarbor.
Beck has made her second shot and it's a ripper, and she's about to do her signature whistle jig to celebrate.
And while the film included some somewhat controversial scenes, the local filmmaker was thrilled to come away with the win.
It's a real buzz to be able to sit in a room where people have really enjoyed your film that you've made.
Casey Trelaw, Southern Cross News.
Well, stay with us after the break. The wash up from a big weekend of footy scoring.
And there's a chance of wet weather returning later this week. I'll have all the details up soon.
Time to talk some footy now, and Casey Trelaw is joining us with all the weekend's results. And Casey, what was dubbed the match of the round turned into a big win for Marble Range.
Yes, that's right, Ali. It was a rematch of last year's grand final between Waybacks and Marble Range here at Centenary Oval. And with both teams sitting 1 and 2 on the ladder, it was expected to be a close one, but that didn't quite play out on the day. Marble Range took control of the game in the first quarter, booting 4 goals, compared to Waybacks' dismal 2 points. Waybacks struggled to get past the Rangers' strong midfield of Appleby, George and West, but strong defensive pressure from both sides saw minimal scoring opportunities. Waybacks appeared to find their form in the final quarter, kicking 3 goals, but it proved little too late, with Rangers claiming the margin by 15 points. The win now securing Marble Range as this season's hottest team on top of the ladder, and Waybacks dropping down to 3rd. In the other games, it was an absolute nail-biter, seeing Mallee Park clinch the win by just 3 points over Lincoln South. Meanwhile, Tasman's blinded Boston's with an 83-point win. Still on the EP and in one of the biggest margins of all time, United Yalana thumped the Cougars by more than 200 points. Ramblers beat Ayr United and Tumby Bay had a big win over Lock. Heading over to the Spencer Golf League, where it was some very high-scoring wins to Solomon Town and Port, and South Augusta recorded their 13th straight win. Over to Whyalla, West beat South, North beat Central and Wirroona beat Rupina by almost 100 points. Turning to the Silver City, South took a commanding win over West, while Central went down to a 35-point loss to North. And lastly, a look at the northern areas shows 3 very solid wins. Crystal Brook have secured their place at the top of the ladder and were too strong for Southern Flinders, while both Oreburgh and Broughton Mandurah also scored big wins. So there you have it, Ali, a very big weekend of football action with some very high scoring games across our local leagues. And I'll be back tomorrow night to bring all the latest results from the other sports across the region.
Thank you very much, Casey. We will see you then. Now for your local weather outlook, it is hello to Amy Stevenson.
Thanks, Ali. A mostly fine start to the week in Port Augusta and Whyalla, both reaching 20 degrees. Wet and windy in Port Lincoln, 17 the top there. And a big thank you to Peter, who captured this beautiful shot in Port Pirie. And if you have a weather shot you'd like to share, we'd love to see it, and you can send it through to localnews@sca.com.au. Now to check the satellite, and cloud over the southeast in the wake of a cold front is bringing gusty winds and a few light showers. Skies are clearer elsewhere over the state under a broad region of high pressure. If you're out on the waters tomorrow, southwesterly winds will shift northwesterly up to 25 knots, with seas reaching 2.5 metres. The early birds can catch sunrise at 7:14, while it will set at 5:38. A few more showers predicted around the region tomorrow. Port Lincoln reaching 17, maximums in Coffin Bay and Clare a degree or so cooler as showers settle in. Showers will return to Port Lincoln in the latter half of the week, 15 degrees on Friday. Similar conditions in Cleve and Woodner, with wet and windy days expected on Thursday. Whyalla may also see the odd shower later in the week. However, it is expected to fine up by Friday. After a few warmer days, temperatures will drop to 17 in Port Augusta, while Kadina can expect showers and a high of 15 degrees on Friday. After a wet and windy 24 on Thursday, showers will remain in Port Pirie. Clare will only reach a top of 12 on Friday, and in Broken Hill, a windy couple of days to end this week, 22 on Thursday before 16 on Friday. So Ali, despite the fine start to this week, it is looking like a change is on the way.
Thanks for that, Amy. And that is all from our team for tonight. You can keep up to date via our Facebook and Twitter pages. Abby Donaldson will be back from her break tomorrow. Until the next time, enjoy the rest of your night.